Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Rai Omido and I'm from Nairobi. And a few months ago, I was starting to think about buying a car. And as usual with this generation, we always go to the internet whenever we are looking for information. So while looking for that information, I bumped into some subreddits online, and I went to read the comments under that subreddit where somebody was asking, "Am I ready to get my first car?" And because I could relate to that, I went to look for that information. But something else in the comments really caught my attention. There's one commenter who was talking about how they earn 300,000 every month and they bought their first car at 23. And one of the replies, somebody was asking, "Hizi ni kazi gani hata mimi nifanye?" or something close to that. There's a link in the description, you can be able to see that. So I was really fascinated by that, and I know that there are many people out there who are wondering, what is it that I can do in Kenya's economy in order for me to be able to grow my career? So I would like to share some tips with you because myself, I'm a self-taught software engineer, and I feel like I'm a little qualified to answer this question. So let's get started. I came to Nairobi back in 2012 after high school. I was looking for something to do. I wanted to join college. I wanted to take computer science, but for some reason I had to take another course. But I was really desiring in my heart that I would be a software engineer. So instead of just completely giving up, I decided, that I'll teach myself software engineering. So just using information off the internet. So I would, pick one thing, a language, and then I would read the documentation, and then I would read some textbooks about it, and then I would try to use it to build something. And that's how I grew to a point where right now I'm able to build systems that can be used by millions of people. I can be able to build rapidly. I can do a lot of things with the database, front end, back end, machine learning, and all those kinds of things. So this is all self-taught. I don't have any certification. If you ask me, where did you get your certificate? I can't give you any certificate, but I would just getting information off of the internet, reading the documentation and things like that. So I just wanted to share with people in a video like this. I hope you find it fascinating. So of course, number one would be the normal route. You finish high school, you go to college, you specialize and things like that. But what I wanted people to know is there are so many other places where people are needed on a daily basis. Companies are struggling, they are not able to do things efficiently, and they need people who are qualified to do those. But people out there do not know that these positions exist. So I just want to mention some of those and also some tips that will help you to stand out. So number one, if you want to build a stable career in Kenya, please don't obsess over credentials. I normally see people come to me asking me, how can I become a software engineer like you? I would like to, to be able to grow in my career. Can you mention something to me? And then the next thing they ask you, where can I get the certification? And I'm like, well, you don't need the certification. You don't need a certification. If you get rid of that mindset, it will become very easy for you to learn things on your own, okay? Sometimes people run to credentials when they are afraid that maybe they will not qualify. All these things are happening in your head that maybe if I do this particular certification, I'll be able to qualify. I saw a job 3 years ago where they were asking for this credential, so let me train it. Hopefully I'll find another job today that has the same requirements, and that's just not how it happens out there. Let me tell you what to focus on instead. Just focus on providing value, okay? In everything, make sure that you are valuable and dependable. A lot of people nowadays, they are intelligent, they are good, but they are not reliable. So you cannot rely on them for anything. They will become emotional in the middle of our project. They resign. It's so much about personality more than your qualifications. Okay, so so if you want to learn how to provide this value, then what do you focus on? So I'll give you an example. In my area of work, I work with so many people, like 15 different professions on a daily, like in my line of work. So for example, I work directly with the project manager. So the project management is a thing. A project manager would just to coordinate projects, making sure that the developers like me have the requirements that they need, the client is well informed, management is well informed. They coordinate the day-to-day so that everybody will focus on what they are good at. Okay, we also have UI UX designers, so user interface and user experience designers. So these are people who, when you see Facebook the way it looks, it's not just engineers who build the entire thing. The way it looks, the look and feel, how you navigate from one window to another, that was thought out by designers. So designers have, to think about, where to place the button, what size the button will be, what color the button will be, and everything. So all those nitty-gritties, transforming the vision from the client, whoever that is. It could be the client or the developers or management. They are responsible for transforming those into something visual. And then once it's done, now we have somebody else, the front-end developers. Yeah, so we also work with front-end developers. So front-end developers will transform whatever the designers have done into static code. Okay, and then we have back-end developers. So back-end developers will pick up from where front-end developers did leave it, and then they will now make it dynamic, okay, with real-world information. So we also have back-end developers. Myself, I'm a full stack, so I can do all those things, but you have to specialize. In many big organizations, you have to really specialize. Then aside from those, we also have people called quality assurance engineers. So quality assurance engineers are, people who make sure that the product is working as the client intended. So they just test to make sure that if I give it this kind of feedback, how will it respond? If I give it this kind of, input, how will it respond? So they just test to make sure that things don't break when they are taken to production. If they find any errors, they bring it back into the development pipeline, and there's a little bit of iteration until it's stable, and then they give the thumbs up, and then the product is launched, okay, or feature or whatever. We also have people called DevOps and infrastructure. So DevOps are development and operations. So they are the bridge between development and operations. And the infrastructure team are responsible, for providing resources where these applications will sit on the cloud. You can imagine, you hear things like, data centers, people who are responsible for making sure that if we put this kind of load on our servers, will they be able to handle it? Just making sure that they can help management take care of that side of things. And then we also have system administrators. So these are people who help people in the systems that the organization is using, be it provisioning credentials and things like that, or onboarding people into systems and making sure that those systems are working fine, and just standardizing those systems. We have also database administrators. So these are, when you're a large organization that is working with a lot of data, you need people who, interact with the database directly to make sure that, when somebody needs access to the database, they're working on a project, they're able to provide that information to them, and to make sure that they manage the access to the database and things like that. We also have business intelligence analysts. So when you are a large organization, you have a lot of data, it's very difficult to make sense of that data. So it is business intelligence analysts who will, try to look through the data, find out some interesting patterns, and they display it to business so that business can use it to make decisions in the organization. Also, you have people like digital marketing associates. So those who help the company, to market itself out there. We also have finance and HR. So in my organization, all organizations where I've worked, we have these people. Okay, so all those roles that I've mentioned, except for finance and HR, the rest you don't need any degree. You can actually just do a certification online or watch a YouTube video, and then you start to practice. So these are things that when you go to the interview, they ask you. If it's front end, they ask you to build something. If it's quality assurance, they just ask you some things, how would you take care of this and that and that. So they don't really fixate on your degree, okay? So if you are one of those people who really obsess over credentials, I want you to look at work this way, okay? work is just you trying to do something that somebody needs. Okay, we don't have to turn it into something that is so special that is tied to destinies and things like that. Work is, I need something done, you can do it. Okay, it's just the same as if you need something fixed in your house. You need a pipe is broken, you need a plumber. Do you start asking them, where did you go to school? Okay, there are some people who will ask, but a lot of times you don't really need to go into that. The most important thing that you need to know is make sure that you can provide value and also availability. Many people will tell you, I got the job just because I was available. All right, somebody needed someone and I was there and they gave it to me. All right. So number one, don't fixate on credentials. Don't worry about certifications. Just make sure that you're valuable. The other thing is build a strong personal brand. Join a platform like LinkedIn and create a profile. And there's always something you can talk about. There's always something that you are an expert in. There's always something you can share with people. There's always some value that you can provide to people. So make sure you have a decent personal brand. Just make sure that you don't expose yourself to a lot of toxicity online. But yeah, just join, build a brand on X, on YouTube, whatever. On this platform, some people are doing all kinds of negative things. Others are thriving and doing positive things and really benefiting out of them. The other one is adapt to industry trends. So don't just think about AI. And the media will always give an image of things that is not, should I say, entirely accurate. So if all you do is listen to stories on the news, then you might get an overly exaggerated, either positive or negative view of everything. So just go ahead and try them out. If you're hesitant about using AI, log into ChatGPT, create an account, try it out, try DeepSeek, try all those AI tools that you'll be able to find that in the course of trying them out, you really catch onto something that is interesting that will open other doors for you. Design tools like Canva, if you learn how to do that, you can be able also to become a designer. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is delivering constant results. So this is on the soft skills side. I can't tell you how many times people just fail. They quit jobs, they cause chaos in a project just because of their personality. It's not that they are not intelligent or unqualified. It's just that they are messed up personally. Okay, so just make sure that you really take care of your reputation, especially when you're young. A lot of times your decisions are driven by emotion. So you, in the middle of the projects, when things are tough, you just quit, you run away. There are people who resign just because they don't think that they are good enough. Make sure that you try to avoid that. You grow out of that if you're a young person, and make sure that you work on your reputation. Make sure that when you're given a task, even if you disagree with the employer in terms of how they are paying you, don't ruin the project because somebody didn't pay you the way you wanted. You'd rather deliver the project and then later on argue about payment or things like that. But not that I'm saying you should accept to be abused, but what I'm just trying to argue for is put your reputation ahead, and then everything else will follow. So do the project first, finish it, and then tell your manager, okay, I'm not comfortable with my salary, or things like that. So if you aren't at a place where you're having those kinds of conversations, of course it's going to come up later on in your career, and you have to deal with that. So there comes a time when you're not happy about how much money you negotiated for a project or how much you negotiated for a role, but then you still have to deliver results, and then you can talk about those other integrities later on. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about to crown it all is shift your mindset. I recommend that instead of asking, how can I get a job? Ask, what problems can I solve for people? So that can be a very difficult question to answer. What problems can I solve for people? So if you are a problem solver, you want to solve problems. Every time you're working on a project, you want to solve problems. You will always find problems to solve. But if you're the kind of person who's waiting to be called to do something, you're waiting for somebody to give you an opportunity to do a job, and then when you get a job, you identify some problems, you keep quiet, you can't even communicate. So I know that things are really tough in the current economy, and it can look like there isn't much to work with, and there's so much impediment, and there's so much pessimism and cynicism. And in the midst of that pessimism and cynicism, there are those who are succeeding. And the reason why I shared this video is because I want you to be one of those who are succeeding, even in the course of this difficulty. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please, I encourage you to subscribe so that we can help more people to grow in their careers. Otherwise, thank you so much, and see you in the next video. Umefanya aiso upacha umeweka ngapi? Umeweka 1.6 so 1.8 shutter speed ni 150 250 ISO focus mode white balance ni gani? Ni auto.